Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I want to show off the Okriel the Traitor boss fight in Outriders Worldslayer, Trials of Tarya Gratar. This one is a little bit tricky if you don't know what you're doing, so I wanted to give some tips and tricks on how to make it just a little bit easier for you as you're moving forward with the trials in Outriders. Now, this boss fight is actually a lot of fun and one that I really enjoyed a lot. It definitely felt like a raid type boss compared to some of the other Outriders bosses we've seen in the past. You start by doing DPS to it. Pretty standard. It's got a pretty nasty AoE attack that can really do a lot of damage to you if you're not careful. Once you do enough damage, the boss is going to go immune. Now you got to capture some zones by these pillars and stay alive as much as possible. I was doing this in a duo, so if you don't have a team, this can be a bit tricky because you want to make sure that you stay alive, obviously, or you'll have to restart the boss fight all over again. And while the enemy ads are rushing you, you're going to find that the boss sends out these massive AoE attacks that can really crush you. Like, look how big that is. And it's something that you're going to have to try to avoid while the enemies are rushing at you as well. So that's one of the things that I found a little bit tricky. So if you need to, make sure you step in and out of the circle. You don't have to sit on it the whole time. There's no time sensitive crunch there, so make sure you have to stay on the circle the entire time or do it within a certain time span. You can get on and off of it. If the boss fight takes you a little bit longer, so be it. The best way to handle this is just to stay alive because there is a lot going on, which I like. It feels very hectic and it feels kind of like a boss fight should feel, in my opinion, with some various mechanics. Now, overall, once you finish the circle and you have the shield go down, you're going to then push forward and do some more boss DPS. You want to, again, take your time with this. You don't have to really rush, but the boss is stunned, so it's not too difficult to whittle him down to the next spot of health where you get to the next phase where you have to charge up another circle. Once you get to that, what's going to end up happening is now you got to charge two different circles in order to take his shield down instead of just one. So again, take your time, make sure you stay alive, restock here at the back of the map before the enemy charge, because once they do spawn, you're going to have them rushing you while the enemy is attacking fairly consistently. So make sure you're full ammo if you need it, but this is kind of a rinse repeat here. Stay alive, stay out of his attacks because they hit actually really hard even if you're properly geared up. So that's just something to keep in mind, and it's really not the most challenging boss fight once you get everything down and kind of get everything under control and really pay attention to his attacks. The enemies on the ground are not really going to overwhelm you, or at any point there's not a whole lot to deal with, although the Corsairs can be a bit of a pain if you let them get in there and start doing a lot of damage. Once you finish those two phases, then you go on to another DPS phase. This is where if you leave enemies alive, they will take you out from afar. So that's why you really want to clear ads before you start doing boss damage, in my opinion, unless you're able to tank them and not have to worry about how much damage they're doing to you. Once you get them down to certain health, you're going to go on to the next phase, which is, again, multiple pillars that you're going to have to defend and charge up. Once you've done that, then it's just finishing off the DPS for the boss. So it is a little time consuming. It is a cycle of things that you need to do, but it's not the most challenging boss fight once you have it under control. And like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's something that will require you to really plan how you want to approach it. Make sure you're staying alive at all times while also doing enough damage to the boss in order to whittle his health down in between phases. There are more and more enemies with each phase. His attacks don't really get that much harder to watch out for, which is nice because I was worried that the attacks were going to get a little bit more insane. You'll see in other boss fights in Trials of Tarya Gratar, as the boss fight goes along, it just becomes a non-stop flow of various attacks that you have to deal with. So that's just something that I was glad that this one doesn't have, because with everything going on, with the ads and everything, that would have been a lot to deal with for sure. And yeah, so you want to make sure you follow the cycle, go through the various phases. And the nicest thing about this trials, and then this fight in particular, the loot is very good for a fight that's not insanely hard, but is challenging if you don't have the right build or the right strategy in order to get it done. So anyway, that's really it for the video for me. I almost died several times during my first run, although I was having an absolute blast with this. This is the type of boss fight that I hope people can fly and Outriders in general does more of, because I love things like this. It feels very much like either a raid or something of that nature from other games that I do play. And then once you go through and you're able to beat it, there's a sense of accomplishment that I really like. And yeah, it's just a boss fight that I absolutely loved. Once you do the heavy DPS, once you learn the strats, it's not all that difficult. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously. I'll have a lot more Outriders content for you guys going forward. My name is JoPa, and I'll catch you all later.